The big one then is the JLT Rev de Civila long walk hurdle, recognising a horse who's very closely associated with it in recent years. He won't this year have a winner who can claim to be a multiple scorer at the extent that he was, but you know what I mean. Harry is seeking back-to-back victories in the race. We've got the French champion hurdle winner Lamy Surge. We've got Thomas Campbell, an exciting horse from the same stable. We've got Little Rockefeller on the Ascot hurdle out the track last time. Sam Spinner, Grade 1 of the World's End. It's a really good contest, Paul. You know what I mean. Harry heads the market, but we sort of now know he is beatable. Will he be beaten this time?
Yeah, I mean, you know what I mean. How he is what he is, isn't he? He's tough. He's game. He does like soft ground. He stays forever. You know, he's the favourite. He is the one to beat. I can certainly see him winning. He's a horse that I am going to take on, though, because I think we know what he is.
Yeah.
He isn't going to be getting any better at his age. It didn't stop Rev de Civila winning at the age of 9 either. But, you know, I'm going to take a chance. I do think that Little Rockefeller and Lamy Surge both ran below form, even though they were first and second in the Ascot hurdle. I don't think that was strong form. I'm going to take a chance on Sam Spinner, who bolted up in what used to be the fixed brush hurdle at Haydock. Is now run over the normal hurdles. He never looked like getting beat at any stage during that race. I'd backed a couple behind him, and I was trying to tell myself that I was hopeful, but in the end, Sam Spinner was just always going to win. He's always been really, really highly regarded. Obviously, you know, you can say, well, you've got to take some of this Haydock form with a pinch of salt, because there are horses that act round there better than anywhere else. Bristol to my being the obvious one. But I will take a chance on him. I really liked him. He's only 5. He's going forwards. I'll take a chance.
Ed, before we get your take on the race, Frank, how are you guys betting?
Yeah, you know what I mean. Harry is favoured at 7-4. Lamy Surge and Little Rockefeller 9-2. Thomas Campbell 6-1. Sam Spinner and the World's End are 8-1, and we're 20-1 bar.
Okay, Frank, we'll come back for your perspective in a second. But Ed, would you take Paul's view that you know what I mean, Harry's one that you have to take on?
Yeah, probably. I mean, 9 rising 10. We know where we are with him, but does like soft ground.
Yeah.
Does like Ascot clearly, but. I mean, it's a cracking race, isn't it? You can make a case for many in here. I do quite like Lamy Surge going up in trip. I think he was a little bit keen on his first run of 5 months off last time out at Ascot. I think up to 3 miles. But I backed him for the Stayers hurdle, so I think by the end of the season that will be when he really clicks over 3. Whether it's tomorrow or not, I'm not sure. I do think at the prices, I think the World's End. Critics will say, well, if you stuffed off 149 in a handicap hurdle last time out, why should you play a part in this? But watching that race back again, he absolutely tanks round to the home straight. And like a lot of the Tom George horses this season, they've been coming on bundles for their first outing. And I mean, he absolutely just stopped to a walk in bottomless ground that day. So wouldn't be at all surprised if he put some, you know, a much improved effort in. But on balance, I'm probably going to go with Lamy Surge. If I backed him to win the Stayers hurdle, he's got to be going close in this.
And therefore, you're convinced now, Ed, that Lamy Surge is a reformed character.
Yeah,
well, all the names we used to call him, they're no longer merited.
It's really interesting stuff listening to Nicky Henderson. They've totally changed a bit, the mouthpiece, the noseband, everything. They tried all different things with him. They took him to Sandown with all this new headgear and equipment on, and he just ran away from the field over 2 mile 6. So Dale Jacob got off and was like, wow, let's try that again. And then it worked again in a Grade 1 in France. Admittedly, they went slow in the early stages, but there used to be a doubt whether he'd stay yard over 2.5. That was 3 miles, went in heavy, and he was bounding clear at the end. So I'd be happy with him. I'll just be taking the favourite on price ground.
Okay, Frank, what about Little Rockefeller? I mean, he was a good winner last time. Almost won the Stayers hurdle. Frank?
Oh, sorry, yeah. I'm not a fan of Little Rockefeller at all.
You're not a fan of Little? How can you not be a fan of Little Rockefeller? He's lovely.
Yeah. I'm just one of these people. I get an idea in my head, and I'm very difficult to change. So I have to ask my wife. I'm a very stubborn man. But Little Rockefeller, I think he's good. Like, he's run some cracking races last year in the World Hurdle. Even last time at Ascot, he was brave out. But I wouldn't fancy him to win here. I think, you know what I mean, Harry's most likely winner. But on value terms, I think Ed was right at the World's End. He was very good last year. He needed his first run last year. He was beaten in the maiden hurdle, and he was unbeaten for the rest of the year, bar falling in the Albert Bartlett when he was travelling really well at the second last. Went back to Aintree and managed to win the Grade 1 there, despite taking the crashing fall at Cheltenham. I don't think, like, it'd be very hard to run to 100% almost after a fall like that. So I think there's more to come from him. At Haydock, he travelled really well. I think that the large weight and needing the run on that bottomless ground was the reason he was beaten so far. But he travelled really well for a long time. And I think I would have him over Sam Spinner and Thomas Campbell, who are coming off the back of winning handicaps by wide margins. I think the World's End's form possibly is stronger, and I would like him at the prices. I think there's as big as 12-1 out there, maybe. I'd chance that each way, but we're under slightly at 8-1.
Okay. Would the aforementioned Mrs. Hickey have been more positive about Little Rockefeller than you are, Frank? Do you have a view on the race, do you think?
Mrs. Hickey has very little interest in horse racing. She's more interested in handbags that can be purchased from the winnings of horse racing.
Well, in that case, fingers crossed for the World's End. 2 votes for the World's End, 1 vote for Sam Spinner. Any more views on the long what we want to pass on? Are we pretty much covered there, boys?
Yeah, I mean, the one I think is too short is Thomas Campbell. Won 2 handicap hurdles. I don't think the last one's working out that great. And I think he's probably going to be up against it. Okay.
So not much love for Thomas Campbell. What about the 150 at Ascot, the My Pension Expert Handicap Chase, 2 miles, 2 furlongs and change, 12 runners headed by Grey Gold. Frank, how'd you bet?
Yeah, Poker School is 5-1, Pugny Bobby 6-1, Monbeg River 7-1, Casse Tet and Dream Bold and Theo's Charm 8-1, Red Devil Star 10-1 along with Rock and Rocky, and we're 12-1 bar.
Good man, Mr. Quigley. The floor is yours, sir.
No strong view in this. Obviously, Poker School's got his fans. He's £18 higher than last year. All his form is right-handed, and obviously good form at this track. But pretty tentative views. I did think Casse Tet was interested on the back of his layoff for the Gary Moore team. Absolutely robbed home at Sandown when last seen, albeit the form hasn't worked out brilliantly. He's got up £13, but he did it in the manner of a very smart horse, and I thought there could be more to come from him. But I've got to be honest with you, out of all the races we're covering, this is the one I've got the least views on.
Okay. Paul, you more enthusiastic about the race?
I'm going for the silent G with Poon Bobby, I think. I think that's probably the way to pronounce it, although I don't really know. Fourth over 2 mile 5 last time. Tried 3 mile at a time before that. Don't think he stayed. Don't know whether it was lack of stamina or just not being fit enough last time, but he has come on an absolute ton on his second run for the last 2 seasons. I think it was on RPRs, it was £17 last year. If he comes on £17 from finishing 4th last time, he'll win comfortably. I think it's probably the time to catch him. And 2 mile, 3 furlong round there on soft ground is probably going to be perfect.
Okay, perfect. And Frank?
I'm with Paul here, even though pronunciation isn't as good as his. I'm just going to say I'm at Poon Bobby, is it?
I think so.
I'm going to go with that, I think, Frank.
Oh, it's almost certainly not the pronunciation I attempted the first time anyway, but I'd agree 100% with Paul. He was backed really heavily the last day at Ascot, suggesting his mark is still fair enough, but he ran like he needed it. He travelled well enough to a point and just cut out, suggesting he'd come on a fair bit for the run. That Ludlow race last year, when he won off 128, he absolutely bolted up, winning by 9 lengths. And that was soft ground over this trip as well. Nicky Henderson, I don't think he's mentioned yet, his stable's absolutely bombing at the moment.
Absolutely.
He had a winner yesterday. And just like Poker School is interesting, but I think he probably wants better ground, and he's high enough in the handicap now. Like, he is £18 higher than last year. So for me, Poon Bobby, I think he'll probably go off Fav, and I think he'll take a bit of beating.
Okay, excellent. That then is our first 2 Ascot races preview. We'll have more after this break.
Paddy Power are offering huge money-back specials for the whole of December. Head to paddypower.com now for more information on the selected races. Max £10 refund per customer. T's and C's apply. 18+ BeGambleAware.org.
Those of you of an older vintage will recognise the 3 o'clock at Ascot on Saturday as the SGB Chase. These days it's the Lavazza Silver Cup Handicap Chase, named by a company that has a coffee outlet towards the bottom of the steps, just down from the press room at Ascot. A little bit of geography there.
You know about that, wouldn't you?
Well, do you know,
I suppose you'd have to leave the press room to get a coffee.
I've had their coffee at a motorway service in France, and I found it quite bitter. But that's just a personal taste. Frank, how do you bet on the Coffee People's race?
Yeah, Signal Farm Payments are 9-2 favourite. Gold Present 13-2. Go Conquer 7-1. 007 and On Tour 8-1. Frodon 10-1. Regal Encore Walk in the Mill Fort at Georgia 12-1, and we're 14-1 bar.
Okay. Paul, Signal Farm Payment, was he beaten when he came down on the Hennessy, do you think?
No, I don't think so. No. He had done a lot of work to get where he was, though. So it's all very well saying he's making ground and over fists and that, but You know, was it a tired fall? Probably not. But you know, I always worried about him with a long run in at Newbury, whether he'd have truly got home anyway when they're, you know, flat out and whatever. But you know, I couldn't really argue with him being favourite at the same time because he's obviously still progressive and his handicap mark isn't that bad at all. So you know, he's a big player. But I'm a massive fan of On Tour here of Evan Williams. He looked like he was getting outpaced down the back straight of Newbury last time, and then suddenly he stormed into contention. He just moved into third, approaching the fourth last. You know, only a couple of lengths off the leads, and looked to be absolutely, you know, travelling all over his rivals. Now, I think he'd have won that race really easily. It's still a long way out. Yeah. You can't be sure, but the way he finished when he won at Aintree the time before suggested that he'd have been pretty strong. And you know, like I said, I think he'd have won the race easily. He was a shorter price that day than Gold Present. He's now a bigger price than Gold Present and £5 better off. The question mark is whether he gets 3 miles because he's never tried it before, but he is a half brother of a 3 mile 1 furlong chase winner. Okay. He's 9 going on 10, but he just seems to be, you know, blossoming really late in life, and I think he's got a major chance.
Ground would suit him better than Gold Present, you think, tomorrow as well, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I'd have thought so. Yeah, I think there's plenty in his favour. Yeah, Mitchell Bastian looked a soft unseat to me at Newbury, I have to say, but you didn't see it because they were changing. You know, if you watch it on RUK, they're changing camera angle at the time he comes off, so you don't quite see what happened. But
you can see it on the Racing Post replay service now as well.
Yeah, I know, but that comes straight from RUK as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, but he's actually,
you can still see that you can't really see.
Absolutely. There you go. You see.
Yeah, so you know, so I don't know what happened, but I've got to give him another chance. If Go Conquer is in the same form as he was last time, you'd have to think he'd go very close, but this is much softer ground. He's up £9, and when he raced on soft ground here last year, he stopped to a walk. Yeah. Got beat by 10 and Nivernais. So I just worry about him if it's really deep. Okay. But it's On Tour for me.
Ed, before I just come to you, I should just say I use the H word in relation to the valuable handicap chase at Newbury that is now the Ladbrokes Trophy. Lamentable error on my part. Very kind of you not to point it out. Ed, your take on the race?
Oh, the race has given me nightmares.
Nightmares.
I napped Traffic Fluid for this in the RFO this week, and I believe they're going to throw it in the King George's 100-to-1 shot. So that's that plan. I'd love to see them in this off 153, but I suppose that's all pie in the sky now. Single farm payment, a bit like Paul. I've backed this horse at 20-to-1 on 2 of its last 3 starts. Got off about the 5th the price, and Cheltenham and in the Ladbrokes Trophy not delivered. So. Kind of twice bitten, 3rd time shy, I suppose, of him, but he deserves to be favourite. Off 147, he could just jump round and win. But tentatively going with Frodon, who's still unexposed at 3 miles. Dropped to mark at 151. I think Bryony Frost's claiming a valuable 5. So off a mark in the mid-140s there. I thought it's only had the 2 cracks at 3 miles. The latter of those was an impossible task off level weights against Mike Bite at Sandown. So I thought could get involved in each way selection. But yeah, this race has tied my head in knots for the last week.
Okay, it's a difficult race. Frank, your task now is to give your take on the Lavazza Silver Cup and then seamlessly link into the prices for the Racing Welfare Handicap Hurdle.
Yeah, no problem. I suggested earlier in the week in the office that Evan Williams would have a big handicap double at Ascot, and I was looked at as if I had 2 heads. But I really like On Tour. I really like him. I think I agree 100% again with Paul. We're on the same page this week. He was travelling really well at Newbury. He'd moved into contention effortlessly, and I think he would have won easily. And like the stamina is a question mark, but that day in Aintree, he looked like he was in trouble the whole way around. Mitch Bastian was at him all the way down the back, and you're like, oh, this is going nowhere. And then coming to the second last, he starts to take off, and he just clears away, which suggests I think the trip will be no problem. Might actually bring about a bit of improvement, and I think there's still a bit of scope off a mark of 140 for him to progress, and Mitch Bastian is unbelievable value for £5 as well. He's an absolute class rider, and I'd be very hopeful for On Tour here, even though single farm payment will be tough to beat. He ran well last year behind Beware the Bear in a handicap here, so I think he'll go well, but I'm hopeful On Tour might be able to do the business. And in the Racing Welfare Handicap Hurdle, I'll belt out the prices. Charlie Parks is 5-to-1 favourite. Silver Streak 11-2. Elgin, Blue Air Rouge and Verdana Blue are 8-to-1. Air Horse 1, 10-to-1. Divine Beer, Magic Dancer 12-to-1. And we're 14-to-1 bar.
Frank, you carried off that seamless link beautifully. Ed, who wins the Racing Welfare Hurdle? This one giving you nightmares as well.
I can tell you I've backed. They're supposed to do a win, but I backed Divine Bear each way. Okay. You could argue the collateral form hasn't worked out the best if you look through Defi DeSoy and Flying Tiger, but really just a totally unexposed sort off 148. Again, I'm in the Bryony Frost fan club this Saturday because she's on board claiming 5, and I just thought an unexposed type. The ground a little bit of an unknown, but did win in a bog in France, but they all do, don't they? Once they've run in France and then come here. So I thought there should be more to come from that one. I thought it could be well handicapped at around a double-figure price, but yeah, I could make a case for 5 or 6 in this.
It's that sort of race, isn't it? Paul, how do you see it?
Well, an interesting one at a price. Gordon Elliott has a 20% strike rate in handicap hurdles in Britain. Right. Better than Paul Nicholls, better than Nicky Henderson, much better than Willie Mullins, although Willie Mullins doesn't target the sort of small races that Elliott has done. He's had 4 runners in this race. He's had a 25-1 winner, Cause of Causes. He's had a 14-1 winner, Bayan, and he's had a 16-1 third out of those 4 runners. He's now got Vinard. I don't know what you call it.
Tomato.
He doesn't have the same profile as the 2 winners because he's an older horse. He's 8 years old now. And he's one of those horses that he just travels and travels and travels. And you watch him in every race and you think he's going to win, and he doesn't win. I think he's 1 from 27 and he's been second 6 times. But in there is some really good form. He was 7th, beaten just over 2.5 lengths, I think, in the Coral.ie hurdle at Leopardstown last year. He was 2nd, having been badly hampered, just turning into the straight, to Thomas Hobson last year in another big money handicap hurdle, and was flying, pulled well clear of the others, so he can finish at times. But Thomas Hobson had gone, and obviously he went on to win at Royal Ascot. So, you know, if he comes to that form, he's going to go very, very close. He's off a real sort of featherweight, 10 stone 4. And quite interesting, he was an eye-catching 8th under Dennis O'Regan. Dennis O'Regan riding for the very first time last time on board here. So get to know the horse. This is a race that Gordon Elliott has obviously targeted, and he's around about 16-1. I think some firms are going each way 5 places. Is that right, Frank? Are you 5 places?
I think we are, yeah.
Yeah,
we
are. Well, you are now, Frank.
And you've got to remember, there's firms that do 5 places. Those 5 places tend to stand even when there's a couple of non-runners, don't they? Is that right?
Yeah, well, like I said, I think unless it gets down to 13 or 14, we'll have
exactly.
Well, we got that 13, 14 limit, Frank. It's Christmas.
5 places.
You're about a 14, 16-1 shot, 5 places, and get 3 non-runners, and you're in clover, aren't you? Really?
Blimey.
You know what I mean? So, you know, I just think he will travel into the straight. He'll still be lobbing. Going to the second last. What he does after then is in the hands of the horse, to be honest.
It should be said this race is often run in the dark, so you might not see.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, last year we couldn't see anything.
No, exactly. It's always run
as well, didn't we?
But I think, I mean, otherwise, I know Frank will tell you all about Silver Streak. He's the one I fear most because he won really easy at Chepstow last time. Charlie Parks travelled really well behind High Bridge at Newbury. But why is Barry Geraghty riding Bleu et Rouge, who was tailed off behind Vinard at Fairyhouse last time? If he's not riding him, why is that the case? Because he's a bigger price.
Good question. Frank, Silver Streak, the second half of your big Evan Williams double?
Yeah, I was having a look on this last weekend and I was like, my God, this is unbelievably well handicapped. Now, the one question mark is the ground. I think if this was good ground, I'd be almost all in. I think he's just absolutely thrown in still off 130. If you go back to the Chepstow run, he won practically on the bridle. He made a balls of the last, and still Mitch Basson gave him 1 shake of the reins, and he just cleared away and won by 4.5 lengths. Now behind him that day, Dallas was second, who's gone and won a beginner's chase at Ascot. Fidux potentially would have won at Sandown next time open, falling at the last. Dino Velvet ran credibly at Newbury last time out. Champagne City was placed at Cheltenham last week, and Percy Street ran well at Cheltenham the next time out. I think we finished 4th. So the form was relatively strong, and the Silver Streak tanked through the race. I think he's without doubt the best handicapped horse in the race. It's just the ground. If it was good, as I said, I'd be very, very confident. If he handles the ground, I think he'll win. But it's a bit of an if. But I think he'll go very close. He's been the biggest loser in the book all week as well. We've been laying him from, I think it was 12. I caught him to 12 on Sunday. He was into 8s on Monday, and he's now into 5-1. So it's just relentless, or 11-2. Sorry, it's relentless cash for him.
well, it's going to continue now, Frank, after what you've just said
ground
there.
is the worry, though. Even Williams was just reading the quote from 3 days ago saying like he wants to avoid the winter soft stuff with him. So if we do get some more drizzle or whatever,
yeah, because he's flat bred as well. Remember, you know what I mean. And if it becomes a test, that would just worry me about him. But he did look really impressive.
Because he was entered in the big handicap at Cheltenham last month. They pulled him out because of the ground. So yeah, that would be the worry.
So weather watch for him.
Subscribe to Members Club Ultimate and access unlimited video replays from all 86 racecourses in Britain and Ireland.